And you can see that the defense is lining up their case and lining up their experts that they are going to call. Well, we're going to do the same thing tonight. I'm going to line up my experts as we go through some of those text messages. Joining me, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Great to have you here. I have a whole series of these exchanges, these text message exchanges between Karen Read and John O'Keefe. These are all in the day leading up. So let's start this is January 28th, 2:33 in the afternoon. Karen, so you're not into this anymore? John, not into fighting all the time, correct. Karen, if you tell me you're interested in someone else, you will never hear from me again. You can have all the space in the world. 234, John, unknown content. 234, Karen, then stop starting with me. John, I am not answering. Stop calling. 234, Karen, can you please answer after how you treated me earlier? 235, John, redacted, is right here. 235, Karen, you start a rager with me out of nowhere, then tell me you're sick of fighting with me. All right. Dr. Carol Lieberman, this is referencing something happened in the morning, and now things are starting to develop here. What are you hearing in this relationship?
Well, the summary of it is, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. What is happening is, to me, it seems this is like a typical example of couples when a man starts pulling away. And it seems like John was already telling her, that he was not so interested in the relationship anymore. I mean, for example, his niece and nephew say that he asked her to leave his home several times, and she said no, she wouldn't leave. When she makes a reference here to his I'll give you all the space you need, makes it clear that he must have been asking her for space. I mean, this is after this event in Aruba where she thought he was flirting with someone. And then these 2 weeks before the incident, before he was killed, that is when things got worse and worse. So, this is typical of what women do. Unfortunately, it never works. But when a man starts pulling away, a lot of times women will just keep pushing, keep trying to get proof. Oh, well, you're not really going to leave me, and then the man, when he doesn't give proof, like for example, even just from the beginning when he says, she says, so you're not into this anymore. And he says, not into fighting all the time, correct. And then it gets even more distant. So she keeps getting more and more frustrated and fearful that the relationship is going to end, and more angry. I mean, more filled with rage. These texts are really very damning.
This is now at 3:40, about an hour later. Karen, okay, well, after how this morning went down, I don't think I need to be back over there with you, frustrated at how I am with these kids. Has nothing to do with drinking. 3:40, Karen, I am paranoid now that everything I do with them is problematic. So rather see you for a minute without the kids around. So it seems from this, Dr. Carol Lieberman, something happened with the children in the morning that was the genesis of this conflict. And now Karen is trying to, I guess, be alone with John at this moment. Where do you think they are in this relationship? Do they want to be together? And if they don't want to be together, why couldn't they just be apart?
Well, I think the problem is that she wants to still be together, and he doesn't. He's had enough of this. Maybe part of it had to do with her wanting to have more time with him alone, rather than having the kids around too. That isn't very intimate, isn't very sexy. Perhaps it seems like he was criticizing how she was with the kids, doing something with the kids, but the kids, are really, because they have said that that was really rocky, especially in the 2 weeks before the incident, that they're not helping her side, helping her defense at all. Their comments seem to support the fact that he really didn't want her there anymore. You know, she's not getting the hint. He kept telling her to leave the home, and she's not leaving. And now she's saying all these things to try to entice him to be with her again. Even now, get a drink. You know, all these things, and he's not feeding into it. He's not giving her the answer she wants.
502, John. So are you staying home or coming here? And I believe at this point he's going to the bar. Karen, waiting to see what you end up doing. I don't want to hang out at the house too much, like I said. So at this point, he's at the house. 504, Karen, I think it's clear me around with the kids around is slowly killing our relationship, and our relationship is much more important to me. How about that, Dr. Carol Lieberman?
Yes, that's a no winner. I mean, you know, she's trying to get more of his attention. She doesn't want him giving so much attention to the kids. She wants more of that attention, and you know, he loves the kids, and so that is not a winner. That is always something that's going to be. It's interesting because they've been dating for 2 years. And so this wasn't a problem or as much of a problem earlier on, but apparently now she wants more and more of his attention, or he's giving more of it to the kids. But that's not going to go over. There's no way that's not going to endear herself to him.
These are all the back and forth leading up to when they're at the bar together. And Dr. Carol Lieberman, we've been watching this video of them at the bar, and there seems to be no indication of any problems. Like, she walks into C.F. McCarthy's, he puts his arm around her, she's smiling. They both seem happy, comfortable with each other. What should we make of that? The fact that when we visit, here comes Karen, she's walking in, John sees her, comes over, get a drink, put my arm around your back. It doesn't seem like there's that tension that we're sensing in the text messages.
Well, I think that they're both trying to, you know, hoping that maybe they could just put some of those arguments aside and try to make the best of it, hoping that it'll be different, when really it isn't different. And the kids aren't his biological children, right? They're his sister's children, and she died, and he adopted them or became their guardian. So he has a special connection to them, you know, that he went out of his way to take care of them. So I think, you know, they're hoping, somehow this is going to work out, or at least she is, and it's just a temporary kind of lull in the problems.
All right, so these are all the text messages leading up to when they eventually leave the bar and take that drive over to Brian Albert's home. Yeah, Dr. Carol Lieberman, your thoughts about the number of calls here, and the timing is crucial, because this is right after, like moments after prosecutors say she committed this murder. She's making a series of these calls to the man that she allegedly just killed.
Well, you know, they were drinking, presumably, in this bar. I mean, they know, actually, that was reported, that they were drinking. And so when she allegedly ran him over, she might not have been in a state where she was so rageful, you know, so angry that he was abandoning her. I think abandonment is a big part of this. She may well have some borderline personality traits where abandonment is the big issue. But she might not have known, you know, I don't think that she purposely ran him over. She was rageful. Rage for the abandonment plus alcohol equals running him over. So she might not have been sure what happened to him. In other words, whether he died, whether he went into the party, whether he's off with another woman. And she's still trying to reach him. You know, she still wants to reach him, just like she in her previous messages, but now it's up a notch.
And the tone of these text messages, you know, she uses some salty language. If you know you just murdered someone, why would you send text messages like this? Because these don't really cover your tracks at all. Like, if you're committing murder and you want to cover your tracks, it might be, hey, hon, are you having fun at the party? You know, things like that. You wouldn't turn it this way, would you? If you're trying to cover your tracks of a murder that you just committed?
Well, except for the idea just in general that, I'm still able to communicate with you because you're not dead. But it is just an escalation of, it's trying to get a reaction from him, like, your kids are alone. I mean, that, you would hope, or she was hoping perhaps that he would, finally answer her, like he stopped answering her. And so, she's using the kids, thinking that, well, if he thinks the kids are alone, surely he's going to call me back. I think she was filled with rage. She was confused. She was drunk. She was desperate. And I think unconsciously, let me make it clearer, I think unconsciously, in a way, she did want him dead. She was so furious at him. And she ended up, allegedly, backing into him and killing him, not necessarily purposely, but unconsciously doing what she kind of wanted to do because she was so angry that he was abandoning her, that he was breaking up with her.
What do you think a jury of 12 is going to think if they hear this voicemail? The allegations that have been put in front of them is that Karen Read just murdered her boyfriend because of their soured relationship. And then after committing the murder, goes on the phone, calls him up and says, I hate you. Do you believe that they're going to think this is like evidence of her guilt or evidence of her not having killed John O'Keefe?
I think it's like an exclamation point. If we were watching this in a movie and we saw her back up into him and we knew already from the previous messages and so on and the relationship how angry she was at him, this would be the exclamation point, the final point, the end of the sentence kind of thing, that, sometimes people do say that, let's say people arguing on both sides of a door, you slam a door when you're arguing with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you yell things through the door. I think they're going to think, well, that's it. That's the final statement that she did kill him.
We have about 15 seconds. Your final thoughts on motive here.
Sure. I think what we're looking at is a relationship that's been falling apart that was great perhaps in the first year and maybe even somewhat into the second year, but it was falling apart. And as it was falling apart, Karen Read just lost it. The more he was leaving her, not answering her and so on, the more she just fell apart and got rageful and add a little alcohol to that and you have these results.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you again really, really soon.